You want some anime, kid? Well, we got anime. Winter 2021 is finally here and it hits hard. Gonna be honest with you, I didn't think that fall had that much going for it. Akanama Drive was cool, I guess, but is that really the best we can do? Here are some of my picks for this anime season that you should pick up yourself. First, we have So I'm a Spider, So What? There really isn't much to talk about in this anime because it's really nothing unique. A girl gets reincarnated as a spider and has to survive. You've probably seen this before. I'm actually a light novel reader for this series, and while this anime won't be winning any awards, it does what it intends to do, and it does it quite well. It's a bit unfortunate that this anime will get entirely compared to Reincarnated as a Slime. There are a million different anime with the exact same premise, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're presenting their story in the exact same way. Spider Isekai is much more of a survival series than a typical fantasy series, focusing more on the spider level grinding until she can make it out of the dungeon. If you're cool with mostly an action-based series with a little bit of humor and light on the plot, then you'll probably like this. If you need more overarching world building and more character development, then this probably isn't the anime for you. Regardless, the first episode gets a 6.5 out of 10. Suppose a kid from the last dungeon Boonies moves to the starter town. Oh god, another isekai. I've been intending to read this series for a long time, but I never got to it. And while I did end up enjoying this episode, I can tell that I would not be able to finish reading such a book. The plot of Boonies, and no, you're not gonna make me say that title again, is pretty self-explanatory. A kid from the last dungeon's Boonies moves to a starter town. God damn it. Anyway, there really isn't that much plot in this episode other than introducing us to the overpowered main character. Unlike a lot of isekai, it doesn't feel like just some asshole trying to use his overpowered move just to wreck everyone. The anime seems more akin to a lighthearted version of One Punch Man. At least one where the character doesn't understand just how powerful he is compared to everyone else when applying to be a soldier. My hope with this series is that it doesn't try to go too deep. First episode's a 6.5 out of 10. Cells at Work Code Black. I was actually surprised a few years back just how much of a following Cells at Work got. Don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic concept and the anime adaptation does a pretty good job. But typically these low to medium budget educational anime get left to the wayside of single core shows with no fan base. But as soon as Cells at Work started airing, every con I went to was filled with red blood cells and white blood cells. And all the merch halls were filled to the brim with these cute little platelets. So when I found out an edgy, more mature spin-off was coming, I thought it was just gonna be another gimmick. But damn was I wrong. Code Black not only brings back the same tone as well as educational concept, but it's actually thrilling in of itself. Cells at Work is an anime that I put on in the background for a short smile, but Code Black actually had me glued to the screen. Again, a fairly low budget anime means that the animation's not gonna be anything to write home about, but the scenario is exciting enough that I was able to overlook it. And I have to say, this is the most effective anti-smoking PSA I have ever seen. Remember kids, if you smoke, your platelets won't be cute anymore. First episode was a solid 7 out of 10. Horimiya. Oh boy, here we go. I remember when I gave my first impression of the season elsewhere, everyone was commenting saying, why didn't you watch Horimiya? Why didn't you watch Horimiya? Now I was moderately aware of the existence of this series, but I had no idea how popular it was. I was completely inundated with messages saying that Horimiya should be included or I should at least watch it. There were people saying it's the best romance manga ever made, people saying it's better than Kaguya-sama, people saying it's their favorite manga of all time. So I sat down, opened Hulu, and it was all right. For sure, I agreed with the general sentiment. Horimiya has some of the best visuals and animation of this entire season. Sorry, Attack on CG. Additionally, the actual writing of the individual scenes were novel quality, far removed from the predictable dialogue that you see in most rom-coms. If you are a big romance fan, then the quality alone will probably make this anime appear in your top 10. But as many of you know, that ain't me. And even then, despite the fact that the individual puzzle pieces were there, I didn't feel like the entire puzzle was completed. The pacing for the episode was ridiculously fast, to the point where I felt like I watched an entire anime in just 20 minutes. Our characters meet each other, learn each other's secrets, we are introduced to a side character, we learn the side character's motivations, and that character gets rejected all in one episode. Because of the strange pacing, I didn't feel like I was hooked into one particular plot thread of the anime, and honestly, I couldn't even tell you what the anime was about if you asked. However, the episode looked so damn good and the writing was such quality that I was able to finish the episode relatively satisfied. Horimiya episode 1 gets a 7 out of 10. Back arrow. All right, so I'm completely guilty as charged hyping this series up. As one of the world's largest Code Geass sims, I was ready and willing to support anything that Goro Taniguchi was making. When I heard he was making something with such an original premise, I was ready to eat it all the way up. So basically, all of humanity lives inside of a wall. Yeah, I get it. And within those walls are two competing nations. Every month, a ship falls from the sky with various supplies and weapons that the two nations fight over. One day, one of the ships ends up having a human in it who claims he's from beyond the walls, and hilarity ensues. As you can probably guess, this episode was entirely world building from start to finish, and fairly fantastic world building at that. Every last bullet point about the world was outlined in full. However, as a result of spending so much time on world building, I don't know who the hell any of these people are. This is the goofy kid. This is the not so goofy kid. This is the girl who shoots well, I guess. Like, I don't remember anyone's name except the main dude. To complete the compliment sandwich, the CG actually looked pretty good, and the fight scenes were great despite their inherently goofy nature. The mecha designs are a lot closer to Gurren Lagann than they are to Gundam in their derivatives. That being said, this could be one of those series that completely falls apart after a few episodes, so we're gonna have to wait and see. First episode gets a 7.5 out of 10. Wonder Egg priority. What can I say about this anime? You're most likely gonna completely lose your mind in like the first 5 episodes of this anime. It's more or less a psychedelic trip that has something to do with bullying. Okay, to be honest, I was writing this while I was watching the episode, and yeah, it's definitely about bullying. Essentially, the main character comes across an egg that causes their dreams to merge with reality, and whoever hatches from the egg, you have to protect for as long as possible. And that's the extent that I can actually explain from this series. Despite the absolute insanity of this anime, the colors and visuals are an entire league of their own. Honestly, I don't remember you seeing this mind-bending use of colors since the early days of Satoshi Kon. To be honest, I feel like if this anime made more sense, it could become a true classic. More than likely, Wonder Egg Priority is probably gonna get compared to FLCL, but to me, honestly, this is more coherent. My only worry from the first episode is that the anime is gonna choose to just be as surreal as possible without any coherent plot, and it's just gonna fall to the wayside. All that being said, the visuals and directions of this show alone are enough to make it one of my biggest recommendations of the season. 7 out of 10. Skate the Infinity. Wow, honestly, I just thought this was gonna be a throwaway anime. And even if it wasn't, I thought I was gonna have absolutely zero interest in this show, given that I've never been a big fan of skating. I stand totally corrected. Not only was this another brilliant and gorgeous looking anime for this season, but it kept me engaged the entire time. The premise is quite simple. There's an underground skating ring and Longa comes around and wants to learn to skate. Now, to get this out of the way, I don't like the new guy comes around and is better than everyone else at everything trope, but as long as Longa doesn't leave everyone in the dust, this could have a very nice cast of characters. The star of this show, however, was the direction. Anime direction is something that's kind of difficult to explain, but if you watch Skate the Infinity, you'll know what I'm talking about. At no point whatsoever in this anime will you want to tab out and check Discord. You'll be watching this anime all the way through, and after what just seems like a couple minutes, you'll be screaming at the screen, "Wait, it's over already?" First episode gets a 7.5 out of 10. Now we come to what is my favorite new anime of the season. And sit down, because this is going to be a hot take. My favorite episode from this debut week was actually Mushoko Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. Now, I hate Isekai. I really don't like Isekai. I feel like most anime use the motif as a shameless way to replace an actual plot, while discarding it almost immediately once the character's integrated in the new world. So when I found out that I actually loved the first episode of the original Isekai, I could not believe it. There really isn't anything to Mushoko Tensei that you haven't seen before. After all, it did it first. A guy dies, it gets reincarnated in a different world. What's different from most Isekai is when he gets reborn, he literally gets reborn, save for retaining his original consciousness. This allows him to train magic from a very young age, becoming extremely adept. What made this episode so engaging for me was the singular focus on our main character, Rudius. Rather than trying to force an entire world as well as an ensemble of generic characters we don't care about, this made it easier to connect with Rudius's learning process as well as want to cheer him on. It's an absolute mystery that most Isekai don't take this route, rather than just try to sell us on some generic MMO world we've seen a million times. Mushoko Tensei Episode 1 gets an 8 out of 10. Alright guys, those are all my picks for my favorite anime of the winter 2021 season. If there's something I missed, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, check out my Discord, check out my Twitch for more content like this, and I'll see you guys next time. Yup.